stable funding in place for crime prevention programs that hold offenders accountable upon release. Imposing greater victim surcharges on offenders to better fund support services for victims, and supporting an effective system of graduated and supervised release into communities in order to substantially reduce rates of reoffending. We support increasing funding for restorative justice programs for first-time offenders in which wrongdoers make reparation to the victims and their communities. Because it's so important to have safe communities, we challenge the fact that though the Conservatives' rhetoric says that they are supporting victim services, they've spent only $13 million on victim services while budgeting $13 billion on prisons where there are not the programs that these people need to ensure they're not reoffending. Thank you.
Thank you. You raised an issue here that I think affects the whole community. It's not just the victim that's in danger here, it's their families, it's the future victims for people that are released when they shouldn't be released. If you do the crime, do the time. And we've got to make sure that that time is appropriate for that crime. And changes have to be made. I've not been a justice minister like a few people at this table, but I'm sure that we've got to do things differently than they have been done. What are we doing to try and stop the offenders? If we're going to put people in jail and we want them to come out eventually as a better person, then we've got to have programs in place to help them come out a better person. We've got to also have programs in place to stop people getting into jail. These sexual predators and pedophiles or whatever, they didn't get that way overnight, folks. What happened beforehand? They were victims as well. Now, I'm not saying go soft on them at all. If they've fallen into their own victimization, then they've got to do the time. Victim support that Janine just mentioned. So much has been promised for victims, and nothing has happened for them, or not as much as should have been done for them. Thank you.
Some of you may remember that I was Attorney General in the province from 1969 to 1973. I was the minister that introduced the compensation for victims of crime legislation that still exists in Manitoba today. We recognize that far too many people suffer terrible consequences from crime and no help is given to them. We endeavor to change that, and I hope that program is still flourishing. I'm very concerned that what happens with our justice system now is that people like sexual predators are convicted and then put in an institution and come out unchanged or even worse than when they went in. I'm of the belief that we shouldn't be spending millions of dollars building new prison cells. We should be spending money to make sure that the people that go in those institutions come out changed. If we can't change their attitude, we can't change their propensity to commit sexual deprivation, then they should never come out of prison. I'm of the view that we should put all those people that are put in prisons to work in so that they come out with a training rather than come out more skilled in criminal events.
I think the pedophiles and sexual predators is a serious concern. And normally, if you look at crime, we met out punishment based on the severity of crime or the amount of goods that's stolen. But I guess for sexual abuse against children, it's really hard to measure. If there's nothing, because this would be emotionally traumatic for the rest of their life. And also, I believe in giving people a second chance, but the thought of having them re-offend a second chance seems like a bit too much risk to take. So I also believe that we need a longer term for the first offense. It should be longer, not like they don't get released really soon, and also include rehabilitation along with during when they were in for the longer term for the first offense. And if they show remorse, then fine, release them. But if they're not showing any remorse, then I don't think we should release them. But if we do release them, and then they break their offense, then I guess they should be jailed for life. And I just don't see how we can, like, for someone who doesn't seem to show any remorse, that we should let them come out and reoffend. So part of it should be only available. There are measures that could make sure that they don't reoffend. And it's a, I guess, child abuse is like a life-taking offense.
Thank you very much. We're now going to open the questions to the floor. Just as a reminder, you need to address your question at the microphone. You first will identify to whom you are addressing the question, and then you will have 30 seconds in which to ask the question, after which you must leave the microphone and return to your seat. We'll take the first question.